You know, guys, out of all the episodes of Zom 100 that we've had this season, I think that these two episodes might actually be my favorite because of the story that gets told throughout them. But before we even get into that, let me just say, Akira's boss sucks, dude. Wow. Like, you get a good idea of how he is in the first episode. Total dick that you hate. But bruh, when we see the levels of manipulation in these episodes that he does on Akira, it's wild. I'd argue he's one of the big factors of why Akira was so mentally scarred over those couple years at his job. Is his chief just being a total manipulative prick, dude. I was watching these episodes and he reminded me way too much of bosses I've had before. I was getting heated watching these episodes because of that. But man, they were such good episodes because I'd argue this is the first time that Akira has truly stepped out on his own. And I'm here for it. I loved it. So let's just get straight into it and talk about Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, episode 6 and 7 today. So as our episode begins today, guys, we see Akira and Kensho doing a little bit of window shopping. You know, at the end of the world, no one else is going to use this stuff. Gotta have that 5-finger discount. As we hear 1, 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000. Quite an expensive-ass Rolex Akira has in front of him. As again, he practices said 5-finger discount. As he says, man, I never would have had enough to own one before. Thank you, Apocalypse. And it's here we see these two are just loving life and just doing whatever they want, despite everything that's happening right now. But as we transition to our next scene, we see that the good times might be over now for them, as Akira realizes that, Kensho, we're out of water. Kind of an important thing to have. As he tells Akira, yeah, the power's out too. It's pitch black in the city. Our water pumps must have gave out when the electricity did. The base station's down too, so we can't get online. Our phones are charged, but we can't get any news. Essentially, they're paperweights. As Kensho tells him, look man, we might be the only people left in the city. The number of zombies are increasing daily. It's getting more difficult to secure food and water also. It may be time we start taking this seriously. And it's here after pondering very deeply on the matter, specifically about if a ramen shop could survive in a zombie apocalypse, which sounds like a banger-ass show idea, honestly. Just saying. Akira suddenly notices the stars in the sky. As we see, it brings him memories of his parents, who he misses dearly. As we see, this only reinforces his desire to go back to his hometown of Gunma and see his parents. So, it's time for a road trip, baby. And it's here as we transition to our next scene, and they're packing their stuff up. And we see Kensho deciding whether to bring pairs of underwear with him or not. Spoilers, you should. We see our boy Akira take one last look at his old room. His old life, as he says. Bye-bye, college life. Bye-bye, office life. And bye-bye, Tokyo. Because now, we're heading to Gunma. And as they're driving, Kensho asks him, so how far is it to your parents anyway? As Akira says, normally it's a 3 or 4 hour drive. I don't know what the roads are like, though. It could be a long journey, so there's something I absolutely want to get. It's equipped with a kitchen and bathroom, a zombie-free space where you don't have to worry. A best friend for leisurely trips where you can sleep whenever. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, an RV is the only way to travel in a zombie apocalypse. And to be fair, that does sound like a great means of transportation during the apocalypse. It sounds fun. But as we transition to a camping car show, who should we happen to run into again? Why, Shizuka, of course. What a small world. As Akira's like, wow, we sure do run into each other a lot. Kind of like we're both kind of main characters of this show. I never expected to see you again so soon. As Akira's like, it happened not just twice, but 3 times. This has gotta be fate. As Akira asks, well, since you're here, want to go to Gunma with us? And immediately he's told, alright, look, I ain't got enough lives to team up with you of all people. No. Thank you for the offer, but I'll have to decline. Hey, at least she's got manners, guys. As she completely and utterly rejects Akira right here. As Kensho asks her, so Shizuka, do you even have a license? And she tells him no, but this is a state of emergency. You know, the world ended. I've come to reason that the best way to travel long distances is with an RV. And upon hearing that, Akira's like, yo, I said the same thing. Look at us all alike. Both of us. As Akira's like, yo, you really gotta come with us at this point. As she rejects him again. But it's here our boy Kensho, being the best wingman ever, just says, you know, you don't have a license though, right? As Akira's like, yeah, isn't it poor risk analysis to do something unfamiliar like driving? I'm sure you can see the benefits of forming an alliance, Miss Risk Analysis. As they completely use her own logic against her, and they finally get one up on Shizuka. And with that, our little ragtag group is formed. And as we transition inside this place, we see some wild-looking RVs, man. That would make it a very interesting trip if they were driving through zombies with these. Like, what would they even do with this one with the crane? As funny as that would be, like, what would they even do with that? As we see, they're just messing around, and Shizuka looks at them with disdain because, oh, Miss Risk Analysis can't stand the idea of finding an RV for fun, as she starts naming off numerous things that it's gotta have for the zombies. And it's here we see Akira and Kensho find a really sick-looking RV, actually, that would be just luxurious to drive around in. But Shizuka tells him, no, we're going with this one that looks like a giant-ass truck, and that's final. As Akira's like, I mean, that one's cool, but it doesn't look like an RV at all. That's the experience. We should at least pick one that has a roof that pops up and becomes a tent, obviously. As Shizuka tells him, that will literally just advertise that we're zombie food right here. No! As Kensho tells her, come on, life's boring if you only do what you need to do all the time. Shizuka, I bet there's a ride somewhere here that'll get you going. As she's like, please, we're in a crisis situation. I could never. But everyone in life has an Achilles heel, guys, because within seconds, she is smitten with this RV. It has a coordinated dark color scheme with indirect lighting. What's with this interior? It looks like a luxury hotel in Bali. As she's fallen head over heels, and Akira and Kensho can't help but laugh at her right here. Same with me. She changed up real quick. As she tells them both, that doesn't count now. That doesn't count, I swear. But it's here to ruin our good time. We see that the place quickly gets swarmed with zombies. Who'd have thought that screaming at the top of your lungs would attract zombies? Who'd have thunk it? As we see at this point, they hop into the first RV they can, pray it has keys, which it does, and they bust on out of there in it. And as we transition to our next scene, we're on the open road now, baby. As Akira's like, it's really creepy how quiet it is. The highway's usually packed on weekdays. As Shizuka tells him, people probably didn't have a chance to run before the infection spread. No virus in history has spread this rapidly. As Akira asks her, Shizuka, do you think this was a virus? As she tells him, this seems to be aggression caused by hormonal changes that affect the brain. And the only thing that could do that is most likely a virus. So basically, yes, she does. As she continues and says, analyzing data of the outbreak and pinpointing ways of transmission can help us work out a possible countermeasure. And there are many other potential solutions. Like if we can create a vaccine, we can counter any sort of dangerous virus. So theoretically, the world isn't over just yet. There's still hope. And I really like her way of looking at that, honestly. It's a scientific way of looking at it, but she's still hopeful. She still thinks that they can find a way out of this. And so do I, honestly. I think that's a good mindset to have right here. And after thinking about that for a second, Akira says, does that mean that somewhere out there are people out there whose job is to stop the infection and save the world? As she tells him, who knows? But at the very least, it has nothing to do with those of us who are barely surviving. You see, our boy Akira's really been trying to find his purpose in life over the course of our whole series. So of course he's going to be curious about something like that. He just desperately wants to try to find his place now that everything's up in the air with how the world is now. And I can kind of respect that. And it's here as we transition to our next scene later in that night. We see that they're ready to make a pit stop for that night as they've been driving all day. But it's here all of a sudden. We see a spike strip was put out in front of the road, and it causes them and Kensho to spiral out of control. And especially Kensho, who's on a bike, who was very hurt in this ordeal. Honestly, if this was real life, he'd probably be dead here. And it's here in this moment, we see them get blocked off by 3 buses by a baseball team. As we hear, well, look who it is if it isn't Tendo. What do you think you're doing here? Skipping out on work. As Akira is horrified to see his old boss right here. This big-ass bastard survives somehow. As the chief tells him, I didn't expect you to survive the apocalypse. But we see Akira is still shell-shocked right here. As we see, he can't even get the words out of his mouth right now. And he's essentially having a panic attack. Just reminiscing about the horrible time he spent with this man. As the chief tells him, I see you've got yourself in a pretty sticky situation. As we see that Shizuka knows what's up here. As the chief continues and says, I doubt you can continue on your journey on those tires. You should hurry and get your friend tended to as well. You want me to lend a hand, Tendo? Our truck stop's fully stocked with food, spare tires, and medical equipment conveniently. We'll change your tires and get your friend patched up. I'm just so glad to see you again, here at the end of the world. Because as your old boss, I never abandon a former employee. As Akira seems thrilled. But reality is not so nice. As he adds, however, in exchange, Tendo, how would you like to work for me once again? As Akira is just floored in this moment. He doesn't know what to say. As Shizuka says, I get it. So that's your racket, huh? You rob people of their means of transportation with those things. Injure them, manipulate them when they're vulnerable, and put them to work cheaply. Am I right? As he tells her, well, that's a pretty uncharitable interpretation, little lady. The laws of the land no longer exist in this world. We had no choice but to lay these traps to protect our precious friends from ruthless looters. As I know Shizuka's thinking to herself, you should really try looking in the mirror. But the chief adds, you don't have much time. All that noise earlier is drawing them here. As he says, 2 days, Tendo. You only have to help us with a few chores for just 2 days. So you'll work for me again, won't you? And he knows Akira's not going to say anything here. He knows he's not going to argue back with him at all. As he adds, well, you don't want your friends to get eaten, do you? Tick, tock, tick, tock. And with all that in mind, he tells the chief, fine, if it's just for 2 days, I'd be happy to work with you again. As the chief tells him, seems like we've got ourselves a contract then. And it's here as we transition to their truck stop I have to admit, they have a fairly smooth operation going on right here. As the chief tells Akira, starting today, you'll be working the loading dock and reinforcing the barricade. But as we look around at all the people here, we see he's still working people to the bone like a slave driver. As he tells Akira, I'm sure it'll be difficult since you're inexperienced. Oh, but with the trust we've cultivated over many years, you'll quickly regain a feel for things. As Akira is horrified. And as we transition to Shizuka patching up Kensho, she tells him, look, I don't think you fractured anything, but you should rest up for the time being. As Kensho says, damn it, this is my fault. Shizuka has to tell him, look, they had this all planned out. This isn't your fault. As he says, if we could just change our tires, we could be out of here. We just have to tolerate this for 2 days, I guess. As Shizuka, knowing better, tells him, I sure hope that's the case. And as we transition back to Akira here, we see that he's being worked non-stop. As he says, this is just like being back at my old job. As he has to actually snap himself out of it and say, no, alright, I'm not who I was before. I have goals now. I decided I was finally going to live life my way, right? So as our boy sees all these drinks in the back of the truck and sees all the workers out here, he comes up with a good idea. As we see, he uses one of the water generators to get a fridge going to get the beers cold for people. Honestly, a really considerate thing to do for everyone who's been working so damn hard. But it's here, Chief Asshole has to find him. And upon noticing what he's doing, he tells him flat out, when did I order you to do that? As Akira tells him, I'm literally just doing this for everyone. As again, his tongue, he can't speak. His tongue catches in his throat again. As the chief says, giving them chilled beer is a waste of our electricity. But it's here as the rest of his boys get here and they notice the beer. They're like, oh, is this for us? And it's here. Being a manipulative prick, he tells them, yeah, guys, I asked Tendo to chill these for you guys tonight. Of course, there's enough for everyone here. Tonight, we're having a welcome party for Tendo and his friends. This is just a small gesture of gratitude for all the hard work you guys do. But the second everyone leaves, he gives Akira a look like, don't ever make me do that shit again, motherfucker. And Akira is horrified. But it's here we see something wild. As we see that the chief is using zombies to help pull this cargo. As he tells Akira, they're a good workforce if you know how to use them. They're company equipment. Mere equipment with no will of their own, who can't think for themselves. They just need to shut up and keep working. And Tendo, like them, you're merely equipment as well. Oh, what? You thought you were capable of achieving something special? Please, you're far more worthless than you think. The best you can do is follow my orders and try to be as useful as those zombies out there. Pieces of equipment like you just labor away and drink warm, cheap beer. On occasion, you get an actual cold beer. So if you get it, be a good little cog, stay quiet, and get back to work. Got it, you damned piece of equipment. As we see that Akira is crushed mentally here. And it's here as we transition back to Kensho, he asks Shizuka, hey, did Akira seem off to you today? I know the guy's his old boss, but why is he just taking it like that? But it's here as Shizuka remembers her past. She tells Kensho, you never forget. Even if your mind knows that they're unfairly controlling you, your heart never forgets the fear. As we learn that her and Akira might be more alike than we thought. And it's here as we transition into episode 7. It's time to go over Shizuka's past. as we see she finds this very adorable abandoned dog. But upon bringing it home, she's immediately told, get rid of it. As her father tells her, what's the point of taking in a sickly dog? As my daughter, you have a responsibility to rise above your peers. And in order to do that, you must toss aside the weak. Only do what you need to succeed. Unless you want to end up on the street like that pathetic dog. Hell of a thing to say to your daughter, guys. Jesus. And as we transition back to the present, we see everyone here is partying as the chief says, drink up. This is my way of showing how much I appreciate you all. As we see that Akira is getting overwhelmed here, and he's falling back into his old routine of being a yes man. And we see that Shizuka isn't liking this one bit. And as we transition back into her flashback, we see that at a young age, she was instilled with the purpose of you have to win, you have to succeed no matter what, nothing else matters. As we hear, and to do that, you need to obey me. As Shizuka says, even before I could talk, my father kept telling me what I needed to do. In his youth, my father went to the States alone, and within his lifetime, built a massive corporation. He became a calculated, cold-blooded financer that even the Americans feared. And as his daughter, perfection was always expected of me. And it's here we see that she actually kept the dog and hid him in secret and actually ended up naming him Ro. But because he's a sickly dog, we see he's not eating very much. So we see Shizuka takes the time to study this information and nurse him back to health. And over time, as they grow closer with each other, we see she's able to completely nurse him back to health as she starts crying tears of joy here. It's honestly a very beautiful scene, as we see that this incident led her to tell her father that she wanted to be a doctor. As he tells her, please, there's a high risk of being sued, and they don't make a lot of money. Doctors and lawyers are to be used by people like us. You need to stand above them. As she tries to speak up and he says, we're done talking. And adds, regarding your belongings in the attic, I contacted the Humane Society and had them put it down. This rat fucker put down that dog. As he tells her, who do you have to thank for this life of luxury here in this house? All you need to do is shut up and obey me. And it's here we see that over the course of her young life, she does just that, as her father tries to tell her everything to do. But she puts up with it because she can't stay here otherwise, and she tricks herself into believing that she needs to obey his every word. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, guys? And it's here as we transition back to reality, and we see Akira makes one mistake, one very easily fixable mistake. The chief tells him, look at that. Looks like you'll need to work tomorrow and over the weekend to finish this. As Akira's like, wait, but you promised this was only until today was up. But he starts berating him, saying, do you know how many losses I've incurred because of you? A slow, dim-witted, stupid, and lazy wimp like you creates losses just by living. Your breathing is a waste of company resources. As we see, Akira's about to snap here. But here's how his chief is a piece of shit. Because it's here he tells him, but you know what, Tendo? That's what I find so charming about you. You see, the reason I'm so strict with you, son, is because I actually have confidence in your abilities. So, why don't you stay here? What's driving you to go back out into a dangerous world like that? Freedom's tough. You gotta make all the decisions yourself. Why, it'll drive you up the walls. And Tendo, I don't want you to end up that way. That's why I'll tell you what to do. Listen to me, and you don't need to think. I'm kind of jealous of the chance you're getting. As we see, he's manipulating Akira right here. And it's here watching this unfold, again, Shizuka sees herself in Akira. As we transition into another of her flashbacks and we hear, Shizuka, do you see all those poor people? Those are people who have lived how they've wanted to. You're different from them. Put your wants aside. In order to win, follow my orders and do only what you need to do. As my daughter, don't become an embarrassment. I'm saying this for your benefit. As Shizuka realizes, no. You're saying it for your benefit. And it's here as we see her having some alone time to herself. We see she suddenly comes across Akira's zombie notebook. His bucket list of the dead. And she just can't help smiling at what she sees. As she sees just such a straightforward and earnest person written on these pages right here. As we see she adds something herself to it. And it's here as we transition to our next scene and we see the chief's crew picking up more supplies. We see these morons have nabbed a zombie. So things are about to hit the fan. But as we transition to our next scene, it's time to get the hell out of here. As Shizuka says, as promised, it's been 2 days. As we agreed upon, we're getting out of here. But it's in this moment, Akira tells the two of them, I think I'm gonna stay, actually. And keep working for the chief. As he tells him, it's dangerous out there, and I'm not really cut out for surviving it. If I stay here, the chief said he'll look after me. As Kensho rightfully says, what the hell happened to you? And it's here, Shizuka just says, fine. In that case, we're leaving on our own. As she fully intends to leave him here, as Akira starts saying, I need to repay the chief for everything he's done, right? And in order to do that, I need to keep working here, right? As Shizuka snaps at him here. As she says, Akira, seeing as how we're not going to meet again, let me tell you one last thing. That man who's trying to make you give yourself over to him completely, do you know what he's really after? He wants to dominate you and make you do what he wants. And your free will, that's yours alone. Your freedom to choose, the self-respect you need to live, your very pride. He wants you to abandon that so he can take them from you. He has no self-esteem and he's never satisfied. All he can do is put others down to make himself seem bigger. That sad man will do anything to assert himself and get a brief sense of fulfillment by demeaning you. And until the day, I was just like how you are now. But you were the one who finally opened my eyes. And I'm not handing myself over to anyone ever again. And it's here she tells him, with how the world is, no one can say how the world's gonna be tomorrow. But at the very least, right now, I want to get away from this gross shithead. As soon as possible with every fiber of my being. As she asks him, so what will you do? You're not a machine or a zombie. You're still human, aren't you? As she pushes his own list on him and tells him, what do you actually want to do? As we see, she added, tell off my jerk of a boss to his list. And I don't know about you guys, when I saw that, I was like, hell yes. Because as the chief grabs his bucket list and tries to stomp on it, Akira goes through all the times that he's had since the end of the world's happened. How much he's grown, how much he's matured and learned about himself and the world in that time. How much he's already achieved as he jumps in the way and doesn't let him stomp on it. And with his confidence restored, he says, Chief, thank you for taking care of me. But this is where we part ways. I don't want anything to do with you. I never want to see you again. As even Shizuka can't help but smile at him at that. Hell yes! Fuck the chief! As the chief says, you still owe me. And Akira's like, well, I won't be able to make that up to you. Accept my apologies, fucker. As he tells Akira, trash like you will be zombie food the moment you step outside. But he tells the chief, even so, that's fine, right? It's better than being worked like a zombie while not being able to do a single thing I want. As he crosses it off the list. Hell yeah. But it's here. We have to have some shenanigans happen, guys. Because it is a zombie show. Because it's here we see the supply team from earlier comes back into their compound area. Oh, and would you look at that? The zombie that hitched a ride attacks them immediately. And hysteria breaks out. As the dumbass driver hits the gas, crashes into the other truck that's holding the contained zombies back, and now they're loose too. And everything goes to shit immediately. As we see that everyone gets on top of the trucks to try to get away from them all. And while they're up there, Akira notices that the fucking chief is being chased around by zombies right now. And it's in this moment we see he comes up with a plan to save everyone as he says, delivery team, I have an idea. As we see Akira actually saves the chief right here as Kensho says, why? I thought you didn't want anything to do with him. As Akira says, I don't, but standing by while someone's about to get eaten isn't on my bucket list. And it's here with them on top of the truck. We see the others actually use the other trucks to box them and the zombies in right here. As we see Akira light a flare, grab the chief, jump over to the other side, drop the flare, and explode the trucks along with the zombies inside as we get a cool guys don't look at explosions moment. As we see they eviscerated the zombies all at once. Honestly, a pretty smart idea. And as everyone starts celebrating afterwards, Akira runs up to Shizuka and says, look, we managed to pull it off. As she tells him, you're always doing something crazy, aren't you? As they start laughing with each other. And I gotta tell you guys, I really like these two together. I really, really do. I like it a lot. But it's here, this rat bastard of a chief says, oh, that's to be expected, Tendo. What a fine example he is of me, right? As everyone here at this point is done with his bullshit as they say, alright, we're done working for you. You're always making people do things while you do nothing yourself. Hell, that newbie's a better leader than you are. As we see that everyone's fed up with all this, and they leave. And it's here with everyone leaving, the chief is on his own, as even Akira finally turns his back on him. And I respect Akira a lot, actually, for saving his life, because it's going to hurt him a lot more to keep him alive, knowing that you're the one that saved him, and you took everything from him in a way. This will hurt him more. I respect Akira for not just letting him die, as he's left broken and alone. And as we're finally back on the road again, Akira can't help but saying, you know, that shit sucked. Working sucked. Maybe I'm not cut out for it. It feels like I'll never find the right job for me. But Shizuka tells him, that's not so bad though, is it? There's no rush to find one. As she tells him, look, online personalities, esports athletes, drone pilots. New jobs are created all the time. Ones we couldn't even imagine 100 years ago. We don't know what tomorrow will bring in this world. Or what jobs there will be. It's anyone's guess. So do what you want to do and enjoy doing it. Enjoy it for all it's worth. Eventually, one day, one of those things may become a job that only you can do. And on that low-key, beautiful note, our episode ends. Guys, I hit the nail on the head when it comes to their relationship. I knew immediately as our show began that these two are going to be freaking perfect for each other. They're like yin and yang. They have what the other doesn't have. We can already see that Akira has rubbed off on Shizuka a lot already over the course of our show. She's changed a lot since we first met her. And we see that her seriousness is rubbing off on him a little bit too. As they complement each other, they both have what the other doesn't, so together they make themselves stronger people. And like I said, I love these two together, man. They're my favorite part of this show now. Sorry, Kensho, you've been pushed aside, man. Bromance aside, I'm here for the actual ship. And I really like these two together. They complement each other so well. This episode was so great, guys, because we really dived into, like, just Akira's mental state again. Because we've seen how much he's matured and grown over the course of the show, but these two episodes were basically a little relapse for him. And it's good because it put everything in perspective for him about how much he has changed over the course of our show so far and how much he still has to change while following his own will and doing what he wants to do. That's the point of his list. The point of the freedom he has now from the apocalypse. You might as well make the most of it. And I love this show for doing that and showcasing that, man. This show is so good, guys. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down below from this very long review. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it because I love Zom. Definitely one of the highlights of this season, hands down. So, until next time, guys, I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day, and I will see you guys next time. Deuces.